Bienvenue à TheVraisQuestions channel. If it's not authentic, I don't want it.
En sachant le côté un petit peu plus historique du vote, en sachant que des gens ont dû se battre pour avoir le droit de vote, comment vous vous sentez en sachant qu'il y a plusieurs personnes qui choisissent de ne pas voter dans le jour d'aujourd'hui?
Ça, c'est une bonne
Mais
question.
c'est parce que l'affaire, c'est que j'ai l'impression qu'il y a aussi une question des candidats de nos jours qui commencent à avoir un déclin.
C'est ça, il n'y a pas toujours
Le choix est
candidats. Le choix des candidats n'est pas toujours le meilleur. Je pense que c'est pour ça aussi.
Ok.
That's the only genre excuse que je trouve.
Ouais, c'est la seule excuse qui est valide si les deux candidats sont mauvais.
D'accord, mais en fait, ok. En sachant que les décisions politiques d'aujourd'hui vont beaucoup affecter notre avenir, est-ce que ça devrait être mandataire ou ça devrait quand même être optionnel?
Quand même être optionnel.
Quand même être optionnel.
Mais je trouve qu'il y a pas assez, genre on met pas assez d'importance pour...
Mais c'est parce que je trouve qu'il y a encore beaucoup de monde qui
Comment
sont pas assez éduqués sur ça.
c'est ça, personne n'a vraiment un avis politique, genre. Il faut regarder par soi-même. Et après, les jeunes, quand on arrive à une certaine maturité pour pouvoir voter, on n'a pas forcément par nous-mêmes l'envie d'aller genre s'informer sur ça, puis tout aller chercher des informations.
C'est vrai que moi, j'ai pas vraiment beaucoup vu de politique à l'école.
Ça perd un peu de l'importance du vote, genre. Alors que, au contraire, je trouve que ça pourrait être nice qu'on nous éduque d'abord là-dessus, qu'on commence dans le vide totalement, puis on doit tout apprendre là-dessus, puis qu'au final, on trouve juste que toutes les parties sont complètement inutiles.
Simplement avoir des cours informatifs qui...
Mais il faudrait plus informer sur c'est quoi, comme, tu sais, on sait c'est quoi la différence entre conservateur et genre tout ça, mais comme, on sait pas vraiment.
Même là, je dirais que c'est quand même un peu...
Mais c'est ça, c'est quand même, parce qu'à chaque année, c'est différent, fait que c'est quand même gris. Mais pas à chaque année, mais à chaque nouveau vote, tu sais, chaque conservateur ou libéral.
So knowing the history of voting, knowing that there's a lot of people that had to fight to have the right to vote, right?
Yeah.
How does it make you feel when people purposely decide to not vote, even though they have that right to do so?
Well, I find they should take in consideration the fact that so many of our ancestors, they fought so much for us to have a
Privilege.
or to have a voice, and the fact that they don't use this voice is sad, because I mean they should take advantage of this privilege they have. Not a lot of people have the privilege to vote, so they should do that. Yeah.
Amazing. And the second question would be, knowing that the politic decision of today is going to affect a lot tomorrow, right? The future. Do you think it should be mandatory, or do you think it still should be optional?
That's a tough one.
Yes.
That's a tough one, because I mean, at the end of the day, we are in a democracy, so it should be your own. Yeah, it should be a choice. Yeah. Even though, of course, it would be better if they do it naturally, but it's a choice at the end of the day. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Knowing that a lot of people had to fight to have the right to vote, how does it make you feel that today there's a lot of people that decide to not vote?
How does it make me feel?
Yeah.
I feel like they should vote. I actually, like in Australia, voting's mandatory. I think they should make it mandatory.
Right, so my second question
Yeah.
would be...
Do I look at you or look at the camera?
The second question would be okay, so should it be mandatory or voting should be mandatory or should it be optional?
Well, I think you should be fined if you don't vote.
It's fine if people don't vote?
No, you should be like, you should have to pay money if you don't vote.
Oh.
So like, you're not gonna go to jail or something, but like...
Yeah, kind of like a ticket.
Yeah, you get a ticket. Or you have to pay some kind of tax into the system that you're not like voluntarily participating in a democracy otherwise.
Right.
You know?
Thank you so much. And
yeah.
Do you have any social media you want to...
Yeah, The Artist Athlete. Instagram at @the_artist_athlete. I'm a circus artist. Yeah, man.
So knowing the history of voting, meaning there's a lot of people that had to fight to have the rights to vote. Right?
For sure.
Knowing that, how does it make you feel that today there's a lot of people that decide to not vote?
That decide to not vote?
Yeah. Even if they have the right to do so.
Honestly, man, I don't really care what other people do. I mean, to each their own. If they don't want to vote, they don't have to. Everybody has the right to do what they want, right? It's freedom, so I don't really care. If they don't want to vote, they don't have to.
Okay, so the second question would be, knowing that the politics of the decision of the politics today is going to affect a lot tomorrow.
For sure.
Do you think it should be mandatory or should it
I think you should, like, educate.
optional?
Yeah, no, I think you should if you could. I mean, educate yourself as much as you can, and I think if you should vote for sure. But I mean, it's not my position to really tell you to vote. So I think the more you know, for sure, the better. So.
It should be mandatory?
Yeah, it should, like, should it be mandatory? No, I think it should be optional, but I think it should be, like, you should do it. You should for sure, but you shouldn't be forced to do anything if you don't want to do it. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much. Do you have any social media you want to promote?
You can follow me on Instagram, Pampaloni, Pampalonii.
Thank you so much. Knowing the history of voting, meaning there's a lot of people that had to fight to have the simple right to vote, right? Knowing that, how does it make you feel that today there's a lot of people that decide to not vote? Even if they have the right to do so.
Well, that makes me think that maybe we should have, got the right of voting in the first place. That, if we don't know what to do with our freedom, so why would we get freedom in that case? You know what I'm saying?
You think our freedom should be in other people's hands and that?
Not mine. I'm talking about, like, personally, because I vote.
People that don't vote.
People that don't vote, definitely. If they don't go to vote, they don't deserve to have the right to vote. So why would they crying for centuries to have the right to vote? Then we give it to them and they don't vote. Yeah. Worse than that is that sometimes they like it how things are going and they want things to change. So it's good for them, I would say. The problem is not the political system. It's about the human being, I think. And we should change ourselves first so that we can change society. That's what I think.
Thank you so much. But second question would be, okay, so knowing that the political decision of today is going to affect a lot our future, right? Do you think it should be mandatory or do you think it should still be optional?
To vote?
Not to learn about politics and stuff.
I think that should be mandatory, and that should be more education regarding politics than what we have right now. That's why maybe people don't vote, because they don't even know how it works. They don't, it's like when they see that on the media, it looks too complicated for them and everything. It looks boring, but that's done on purpose, so that they don't vote and things don't change. But at the end, what can I say? If people don't want to wake up, so it's good for them, the life they have, they deserve it. Right. If you don't move, nobody's going to move for you.
Right. So thank you so much. So knowing the history of voting, knowing that there's a lot of people that had to fight just to have the right to vote, right? How does it make you feel to know that there's a lot of people that have the rights to vote and decide to not to?
Well, first of all, I'm grateful for the fact that we all have a right to vote and it does count. I mean, everybody has their choice whether they want to vote or not, right? But every vote does count, so I encourage everybody to take the time to go and vote.
Thank you. And the second question would be, knowing that the decision that are taken today politically is going to affect a lot of our future, do Do you think it's should be mandatory or should it still be optional?
Honestly, I think it should be mandatory since it does have a great effect. And yeah, I think it would be a good idea if it was mandatory. That way we can ensure that everybody gets a say in knowing what goes on. Yeah, exactly. If anything, that it should be mentioned more in school. Everybody should be educated more on that. That's what I would do.
Knowing a little bit the history of voting, knowing the fact that there's a lot of people that had to fight just to have the simple right to vote, how does it make you feel that today there's a lot of people that have the right and decide to not to?
I think it's really disappointing, actually. Like you just mentioned, I mean, a lot of people pledged their lives, fought, died, pushed hard for many things, and one of those things was our right to vote for a free society. So yeah, it's unfortunate that people choose not to vote.
Thank you so much. And knowing that the political decision of today is going to affect a lot of our future, do you think it should be mandatory or should it be still optional?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I do believe it should be optional just because we do live in a society that is democratic and we have free choice. And it's unfortunate how some people do use their choices, but that's one of the things that people fought and died for was their freedom to choose.
Knowing a little bit of the history of voting, knowing that there's a lot of people that had to fight just to have the simple right to vote, right? How does it make you feel that today there's still people that have the right and decide to not vote? How does it make you feel?
I mean, it doesn't really make sense because if they're not voting, they're just going to be commenting on what's going on, but they're not putting the effort to go out and vote for the right and complain about what's going on, how the government's raising everything and certain things are going on. But I feel like everybody should go and vote, right? And it's a free thing to do, but people just don't want to take the time to go and do it. So.
The second question would be, knowing that the political decision of today is going to affect a lot of our future, right?
Yeah.
Should it be mandatory or should it still be optional?
I feel like they should get it mandatory because that way I feel like people will go and make the right decision and vote for the right voters, and basically if it affects our future, it affects all of us, right? So if we're voting for the wrong person, like, you don't want the country to be run by like someone like Donald Trump, like how it is in the States, right? So that's what I would say.
En connaissant l'histoire du vote, en sachant qu'il y a beaucoup de gens qui ont dû se battre juste pour avoir le simple droit de vote,
oui.
Comment tu te sens à savoir qu'aujourd'hui, il y a quand même des gens qui ont le droit mais qui choisissent de ne pas voter?
C'est vrai qu'on a le droit de vote aussi. Moi qui viens de France, on a le droit de voter blanc, mais quand même on a le droit de voter. C'est une voie, on va dire, qui existe de ne pas choisir un parti ou un autre, mais c'est quand même le droit. Après oui, c'est sûr qu'il y a des pays où genre c'est quand même fermé actuellement, où on voit actuellement des politiciens qui sont élus et que les votes sont un peu truqués, on va dire. C'est vrai que c'est un privilège, surtout ouais. Étant français, c'est vraiment c'est un privilège. Ouais.
D'accord, magnifique. La deuxième question, c'est en sachant que les décisions politiques d'aujourd'hui vont grandement affecter le futur. Oui. Est-ce que tu penses que ça devrait être mandataire d'avoir comme des cours informatiques sur la politique, ou est-ce que ça devrait quand même encore être optionnel?
Comment ça, informatique?
Ça veut dire avoir des cours qui renseignent les gens pourquoi c'est important de voter.
Ah, pourquoi c'est important?
Sur
Après,
la politique.
On nous sensibilise après très jeune déjà, dans le sens où on élu quand même quelqu'un dans l'école, où il y a des... Comment dire, on est déjà sensibilisé sur ce genre de choses. Après, est-ce que c'est dans toutes les catégories, dans toutes les sphères, dans tous les pays, je ne sais pas. Mais c'est quand même important et c'est quelque chose que, oui, on est censé voter et le prendre à cœur, il faudrait, oui.
Pour toi, te renseigner sur...
sur voter, oui, sur qui voter, sur le programme de quelqu'un, le programme de l'autre, oui, forcément, oui, c'est très très important.
Est-ce que ça devrait être récréatif ou est-ce que ça devrait être mandataire?
Mandataire, oui.
Je te remercie beaucoup.
It's very important that at least people vote and make a decision, regardless of if they're going left or right, that at least they share their opinion and if not, don't complain after.
No, definitely, I agree with that. I think it's a responsibility for everyone. that's what democracy is about. So I think everyone should be responsible enough to cast their vote. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And the second question would be, knowing that the political decision of today is going to affect a lot the future, right? Do you think it should be mandatory to learn about how important it is to vote and about politics, or should it be still optional?
Well, I think you can't force anybody to vote, but unless like people really want change. For change to happen, it has to come within for it to make it as a group. So you can't make it mandatory because then you're going to make people not do it as an obligation kind of thing.
Alright.
And I think, in my opinion, it should be compulsory. Like there are some countries like Australia where it is. If you fail to do so, they fine you. You gotta pay a fine. So I think people should be aware of that. You know, that voting is very important.
Alright. So should it be mandatory or optional?
For me, yes.
Mandatory.
Mandatory.
And optional.
For me, optional, but I mean with hints that if you want change, like make them easier for them to vote. Like don't make it like as an obligation with a fine, because then people would be like, okay, not so interested and involved with politics, but if you present it with the options, then it would be easier.
Knowing a little bit about the history of voting, right? Knowing that there's a lot of people that had to fight just to have the simple right to vote. How does it make you feel that today there's a lot of people that has the right to vote but choose not to?
Sorry, that's an interesting one. I guess I do think people should inform themselves and vote as much as possible. I do kind of understand the side of people that are a bit disheartened by the process and feel like a lot of elected officials don't represent the broader views in society. So I think beyond voting, it's how do we get people to be socially engaged throughout the process? Because as we know, the final vote is not the main thing that matters. So in those small actions, how do we get people to sign little petitions? For example, I know the city of Montreal right now is doing their budget review, and a big part of that, for example, people are saying to have, you know, when you write into what the city should do budget-wise, maybe suggest that they defund the police. So things like that, where we have to also kind of get citizens engaged day to day on even the smaller motions, because that's what leads to bigger change in the long term. So I do definitely think people should be voting as much as possible, and they should definitely exercise their right to vote. But a small part of me understands why some people are disheartened with the whole process.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
The second question would be, so knowing that the decision of the political decision of today is going to affect a lot the future, our future, should it be mandatory to learn about politics, or should it still be optional?
I think that it's going to be mandatory. Unfortunately, I think that some people just don't have the time, and by people that don't have the time, I mean that people that are working, you know, difficult jobs, long hours. I think it's also kind of a privilege to be able to discuss and sort of intellectually think about politics. I think what we're seeing now is that because we have more and more people at home due to the pandemic, and more people that are realizing a lot of things that some of us that are kind of really into policy and politics have been talking about, I can understand why people weren't aware of certain things, because it's also a privilege to, at the end of a long day, sit down, read, analyze, all that. So I definitely think it's necessary now, and I'm happy to see that it seems like more and more people are politically engaged. So yeah, moving forward, I think it's definitely a necessity for us to build the kind of society that we want.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
And, do you have any social media you would like to promote?
Yeah, sure. On Twitter, I am at TDMosh, so TSELIMOSH, and same on Instagram.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, knowing a little bit about the history of voting, knowing that there's a lot of people that had to fight just to have the simple right to vote, how does it make you guys feel to know that there's a lot of people that have the right to vote and choose not to?
I think it's pretty much like a distrust, general distrust with the government or with the political system as a whole. If I was to vote right now in the next general election, I would choose to vote because I am politically involved, but I understand that a lot of people are not politically involved because they either have lost faith or just don't care about politics of the country. So that's a big reason as to why people don't vote.
Probably like modern the politicians with their the decisions that they're making, like it's just unreal, the stuff that they're deciding. So for us to trust them with their decision, it's hard for us. That's why many people choose to abstain from voting.
also, yeah, like it's a form of like protest, you know, voting, like abstaining from voting could be a form of protest as well. So a lot of people don't vote because of that as well.
Good point, fair enough. And okay, so knowing that, the second question would be knowing that the decision of, the political decision of today is going to affect a lot of future, right? Do you think it should be mandatory to learn about politics and how important it is to vote, or should it still be optional?
I do not believe anything should be mandatory, but I do believe people should, like the government or like the society we live in should like instruct more political, you know, teachings to like the people in general, so they can like understand like how the political system works, you know, the through the voting and like pretty much how everything works. I think they should be like, people should be more educated about that.
So we should have more information, but still not.
But it's still, I don't think should be mandatory. I don't believe it should be mandatory now.
Because young people are the future now, so they should be educated about it because they're the one building the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So knowing the history of voting, right? Knowing that there's a lot of people that had to fight just to have the simple right to vote, right? How does it make you feel that today there's a lot of people that have the right to vote but decide to not to? How does it make you feel?
You see, I'm gonna take this out of my mouth, man. When it comes to voting, I find that people are a little bit confused with the message, right? Because sometimes it seems as though you vote, but then you get someone elected, but once this person get elected, they're not really representing you in that way which you expected them to, because you voted for this reason. Once they get in power, you realize it's the same thing, it's just slightly different. So I guess people are just demotivated. They don't want to vote because of this reason. But I think voting is the only power you have, only democratic power you have, because you have the power to choose who gets into power, right? But realistically, man, people are just demotivated. Because even though they vote, they realize that nothing changes. It's the same bullshit. So that's it, my G.
Amazing.
I don't know.
Second question would be, okay, so knowing that the political decision of today is going to affect a lot our future, right?
Yep.
Should it be mandatory to learn about politics and how important to vote it is, or should it be still optional?
I mean, you have no choice. Politics is in everything you do every single day, right? So I believe it would be a little bit stupid not to learn about politics and how it affects you. It would be dumb. Some people, I guess the information doesn't reach them because of their environment. And some people, the information reaches them, but then, like I said, they don't care because they realize there's no real. I mean, when you think about the effect of voting, you understand what it does, but then realistically, people just like, okay, why am I wasting my time? You know, I voted already, same shit. I'm not gonna vote now because same shit. So it's just, I mean, it would be wise for you to understand how politics works and how it affects you in your day-to-day existence. But other than that, some people are they're just demotivated. They just don't care anymore.
So should it be mandatory or should it be optional? Right now it's optional, right?
Yes, and I'm indifferent on that. I think we live in a free society and it should be optional. And if we want to make it mandatory, I understand why they would want to do that. But either way, I'm indifferent on that one.
Thank you so much. And,
no problem, my G.
So, if you have anything you want to promote?
Hey man, you see, I'm a barber. My name is Maestro. You know, I'm independent. This is what I do. If you don't like it, local businesses, local hustle, this is what it is. Alright?
How good is your cut?
Hey, the best you ever had. Best you ever had.
Nice, okay,
No pun intended. Come see me if you don't like it, I'd pay you. Alright?
Y'all heard it.
That's it. Tell a friend to tell a friend where to find a friend. Maestro.03. Maestro.03. DM for anything you need. Color, trims, fades, anything. Just let me know. Alright? I got you. That's what's up.